What's going on there, guys? Welcome back to NBA Cinema. I want to talk a little bit about the Boston Celtics today, as we'll be covering both teams, the Mavs and the Celtics, some of the advantages and disadvantages they may be able to exploit going into this series. Now, first, here we have Kristaps Porzingis back out on the floor shooting, and it's big that he was able to rest the entire Indiana Pacers series. When they took that 2-0 lead, it was thought that he may be back if Indiana won that first home game in Indiana, but when Boston went and took that first game, they decided to, okay, well, we'll let him sit out and prepare for the finals because no team has ever come back from down 0-3. And, they finished up the sweep. And then you had, the Dallas Mavericks finish their series up in five. Could have been fourth. Lively would have played last game. But there's been a lot of narratives around the Dallas Mavericks, and Joe Mazulla actually went in today on that. He spoke about the Jaylen Brown Jayson Tatum thing. It's been, oh, Tatum has to win Finals MVP if they get there. And I think a lot of that comes from how he was outperformed by Andrew Wiggins in their last NBA Finals. Jaylen Brown is sort of absorbed the Marcus Smart loss with the way that he plays and also his vocal leadership with this team. And so now people are starting to say Jaylen Brown is the leader of this team. And I don't think it's an indictment on Jayson Tatum. Honestly, I think it's been close the entire time. I think people just ignored what they were seeing. It was a joke about Jaylen Brown's left hand and all that. He loses the ball going left a lot. So people equated that to him being a lesser talent. And so now it looks like Jayson Tatum isn't reaching his potential. But these are all narratives because in the midst of everything that we're seeing, the team is always in the thick of things. And that's all you can ask for going into a season. Your top players are healthy and available first and foremost, and they are coexistent, and they've been able to get their contracts, right? Their max contracts and coexist. So don't let anyone trick y'all out of having a good match and making this thing work. Now we're going to listen to what Joe Mazzulla had to say and also Boogie Cousins because people were saying that, the Celtics had it so easy in the East. Also, Jaylen Brown has spoke about his relationship with Jason Tatum and how it works. Let's peep.
Jaylen and Jason, their relationship, the obvious kind of tension of just wanting to be the best, becomes this narrative for so many talking heads around the country or world. From your perspective, does that seem far fetched? And I guess just what has it been like your experience with these guys over the last few years? And
That's
how
a really good question. I'm kind of praying about how deep I really want to get into that because the whole thing about that really pisses me off, and I think it's unfair to both of them. And I think it's stupid that people have to use those two guys' names and use information that they don't know to create clickbait so that they could stay relevant. And it's very unfair that those two get compared. They're two completely different people. They're two completely different players. They're great teammates. They love each other and they go about winning and they go about their process in a different way. So why they have to always be lumped together, I think, is unfair, and people just use it for their own relativity. And at the end of the day, those two guys, their relationship is their relationship. They love each other. They push each other every single day in practice. They communicate with each other, but they go about winning differently. And I think they're both getting unfair, what's the word? Being compared to each other. They're different. And you see other duos around the league don't have to go through that. And it's because of the platform that they have. It's because they've been so successful their entire careers. They've been able to long stand success at a high level. And so people need them in order to stay relevant. And they should not talk on speculation. They should get to know them as people before they talk about that stuff. They're two of the greatest teammates and players that you could have, and it's been an honor to coach both of them. Doesn't mean they have to be the same. And so it's bullshit. And I love both of them, and they deserve better.
I think when me and Tatum came in, we had similar situations, but we kind of like polar opposites in a sense. Like Tatum is even in our game, I'm more aggressive, Tatum more laid
finesse.
back. You know what I mean? And that's kind of how our personalities is. I'm more he'll probably say I'm a little outside of the box, and he's probably a little bit more how cut and simply just keep it simple.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we in a weird way, it kind of works. You know what I mean? Because we lack what each other has. You know what I mean? So in a weird way, we got an understanding of each other, a respect for each other. our families is close. Like my brother like babysit his son and stuff like
That's
that. Like we
dope.
got
Right.
So we
That's your
have
light skinned brother.
exactly we different. Like we got different mindsets, but at the same time, like I think we respect each other.
For me, it's becoming kind of laughable how the narrative is now shifting for this Boston Celtics team. We've watched them dominate all year long.
Yeah.
Since the beginning of the season, we've said there's not a team in the East that can fuck with this Boston team. Now
Yeah.
that we get to the Eastern Conference playoffs, it's like, well, they haven't been tested. We've been saying it all year. It's nobody
Yep.
that can match up with them. We've been calling it all year. Boston is coming out of the East. It didn't matter how it was going to happen. We knew this team was coming out. They are the most well put together team as far as defenders, as far as playmakers, as far as shooters, veterans, big man. They have a complete roster. This team was built to be at this stage. They built this team specifically to be in the finals, and it's working.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just confused as to now why we expected them to have more of a challenge throughout this run. Like, it's been called since day one. They were going to sweep through everything and come out of the East.
As you sit back and kind of look at the way things has played out, the Drew Holiday, Dame Lillard trade, the implications that had in the season, and Boston's been getting to the finals, but they needed to replenish, right? They needed to have a Kristaps Porzingis. They needed to have a Drew Holiday to replace some of the stuff they lost. I know it's a lot of people are saying that, okay, Jaylen Brown just replaced the Marcus Smart factor, but you got Jaylen Brown, you got Drew Holiday. So naturally, you got athletic people that love defense. Derek White is able to give you the numbers that Jayson Tatum or Jaylen Brown give you on a given night. If he's hot from the perimeter and also being the best shot blocking two guard in the league, just his DNA, his come up, how he had to come up in levels in college, from was it D3 or D2, one of them, and he made it, to the high level Division One. Then went to the NBA, played under Greg Popovich, learned how to win, played his way on the court there. He's a player that everything's been earned where he's at now. So a player like Kyrie Irving or a player like Luka Doncic, they can get the best of him on a given night. But those are the kind of players that are tricky because some nights they can get the best of you too. Don't mean they're a better player than you. They just don't really have any weaknesses. So depending on what opens up for them that game, the opportunities they get, and what kind of rhythm they are in, they're able to play you to a standstill sometimes, even if you are the superior talent. And that's what Derek White is, right? He's one of those guys who can play against your favorite player on a given night and outplay them and really impact a specific game more than them if he's really got it going. And so they have the luxury of having guys like that. Drew Holiday, finals experience, big shot maker. I remember in that last series, he got 2 and 1s, and they were and 1s on bigs. He got one on Siakam, and then I think he got one on Toppin, if I'm not mistaken, or Miles Turner, with that left hand. And he's another ambidextrous player. We don't think about him because of how great Kyrie looks doing what he does, but he's actually more comfortable laying it up with his left hand and going left like that. So Drew Holiday is a problem. And defensively, he can guard a player like Kyrie Irving as best as you can. And he can guard a bigger player like Luka Doncic because he doesn't allow you to walk into things. He kind of pushes you around on the court where he wants you to go, and he dictates by beating you to spots and making it really uncomfortable. We saw what he did with them hard down the stretch. Again, this is Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, so they're going to have some success too. But when you look at the totality of how these teams match up, even Kristaps Porzingis, he can post up. 7-3 is a little bit different than what these young guys have seen. Now, Daniel Gafford has had the luxury of practicing with Porzingis, so it'll be interesting to kind of see and see how he gauges and studies for Porzingis, because he probably knows some of his tendencies, right? You can't practice against someone that much and not have somewhat of an advantage, or, and I'm talking about their time with the Washington Wizards. And that's interesting too, right? Porzingis played for Dallas, went to Washington. Daniel Gafford was in Washington. They played together. Now Gafford is in Dallas and Porzingis is in Boston, a team that Kyrie was at after he left after he left the Cavs, you know, went to Brooklyn, and now he's in Dallas. So you look at all these guys and how bad situations and bad teams have good players. So next time when free agency come up, these teams need to look for the PJ Washingtons. You know how it fit with your team. Look for the Kristaps Porzingises. Look for everybody's looking for Kyrie Irving talent level players, but look for the Daniel Gaffords because now they have a two-headed monster. Centers is very similar with Gafford and Lively. And again, Lively and Gafford may have to come out because Porzingis is the 173 guy right now that can beat you from three. He can, if you leave him out there, he can make 5 in a row if you don't come out. He can literally flip the game upside down. So I'm looking at okay, how will their presence be around the rim? And Al Horford is going to make you come out and defend too, because Al Horford can beat you from 3. We saw him make 6 or 7 in Indiana one game. So the two bigs can absolutely beat you from the 3-point line if you leave them uncontested. And now this may put Luka in a position where he's got to sit down and try to guard somebody. And we know he can't stay in front of Jaylen Brown, and we feel like, Jaylen Brown can't guard Luka, obviously one-on-one, but I do think Jaylen could have more success guarding him than Luka could have with his first step, if they get on ISOs or whatever, and if the bigs are hitting. So Lively and Gafford will not be the presence that they are right now if the bigs from Boston are hitting their 3-point shots, So that's another factor to look at. With Tatum and Brown driving to the rim, they won't be there as much because you do have to respect Porzingis. So let me know what you guys think about this in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Till next time. Peace.